Hey guys, growing a business. First thing I'll say is I hope you don't undermine the video. I know I'm wearing a t-shirt and I know that I'm holding the camera as opposed to having it on a tripod, but I do have some valuable stuff for you. I've grown my own business and very successfully, and I have just a few tips. The first thing will be in the beginning of your business growth, revenue has to be your biggest priority. And I'll tell you why. It's not because you need to have money in the bank. It's not because you need money for the next quarter. Um, a lot of times I think people want to only take on work or only sell goods if it meets a certain profit margin. But in the very beginning, your biggest priority is to create that customer base. There's a couple ways to do that. Advertising is one. The other way to do it is to not give away what you're selling, but to create a very good value for your customer. And what you can do is if in the very beginning you work very hard and take on every piece of revenue that you can, you're going to build a strong customer base very early, and your customer growth will be exponential. I talk to a lot of old people. I'm going to segue into my next topic, which is advertising, by the way. You talk to a lot of these old guys, and they'll say, well, I don't advertise. Um, I only do referral, and that gets the bills paid. That's great if your plan is to start a business when you're 20 or 30 and become wildly financially successful when you're about 55 or 60. So if you want to grow your business at a snail's pace, then yes, count on customer referrals only. But what's a lot smarter is to, in the early stages of your business, after you've already determined that you have a profitable business plan, is to advertise. Advertise intelligently. Seek out advertising that works. Just because you distribute 10,000 flyers, that doesn't mean that it's going to pay off for you. I have advertisers call me and they want to talk to me about how many ad pieces they're going to distribute. And I tell them, I say, advertising is a business of precision. If I'm selling wheelchairs, I'm better off putting one flyer at an old folks home than I am to put 100,000 flyers at a rock concert. So when you advertise, keep in mind that it's not really about how much you spend. It has a lot more to do with careful precision. And the point of mentioning the advertising goes back to that first point of revenue. In the early stages of a business, since your largest focus should be to develop that customer base, if you advertise and you take on every bit of revenue that you can, even if it's not wildly profitable, you should be able to build your business very early. And by the time you've been in business for 5 years, if you follow this, you should have the same amount of profitability as one of these old folks that wants to run his business 100% off referrals. The guy grinds it out and he's not even profitable until he's 50 or 60. Okay, so that's the building your customer base through revenue prioritization as opposed to margin prioritization and doing some advertising. The next thing that I'll say is you should never ever negotiate the quality of your product. I usually, if I'm going to be using some sort of new product that I'm selling to a customer, I'll buy one of every brand and every division in there, and I'll test it out myself. And I do computer work, and so sometimes I'll buy routers, for instance, the newest router technology, wireless router technology, and sometimes I'll buy ones that start at $30 or $40, and then there will be ones that are over $100. And surprisingly enough, the $40 one works the best. And so when it comes to your product, you always need to make sure that you never negotiate the quality of your product. And there's two ways that you would do that. You would do that either by failing to test the products that are available and just relying on marketing and how pretty the box is and just assuming that it's an expensive item, it's going to work better. That's one way that you would negotiate the quality of your product. The other way would be if a customer specifically requested that you install it a certain way. If they said, well, I want to use this part, or if they said, I want you to do the work in this particular fashion. If doing it the customer's way acts against the overall quality of the product, just don't do it. Just tell the customer, I'm sorry, but I only do platinum grade work. I only sell platinum grade goods. Because here's the thing. A month, 2 months, a year down the road, when the solution is not working for the customer, when the product is not working for the customer, they will not remember that they prescribed that solution, they prescribed that part, they prescribed that product. The only thing that they're going to do is remember that you're the one that sold it to them, and the thing doesn't work, or it's junk. So you never ever ever negotiate the quality of your product. Part of that also goes to your referrals and your word of mouth and stuff like that. These days, everything is online. There's lots of, you can read reviews, and a lot of people are very much into that. Angry people, people that are dissatisfied, they talk a lot more than people are satisfied. If you see a company that has 40 good reviews and one bad review, the chances are that they've had 1,000 really, really happy customers, and they've had one or two really unhappy customers. Because, like I say, people that are dissatisfied, they talk a lot more. So you never negotiate the quality of your product. It's going to act against you in the long run. The next thing that I'm going to mention is, in the early stages of your business, you need to create what I call my customer stickiness program. Some people call it, what do they call it? Customer management. I can't remember. Anyway, there's a lot of different names for it, but I make it a point that when they first schedule work with me, before I ask them for their name and address and phone number, which is typical, the first thing that I ask for is their email. They're very caught off guard, but since I haven't asked them 1,000 questions already, they offer it up. If I had already asked them a bunch of questions, they'd probably get frustrated with me asking for their email, since it's kind of a non-necessary item. But get their email, get their phone numbers. Make sure that you know whether the phone number is a home phone or whether it's a cell phone. Because what's going to happen ultimately is, as you move on down the road, you may want to communicate with these customers via email. You may want to market to them via email. You may want to utilize some sort of text message marketing if it's okay with your customers. Depending on your business, you may want to keep your customers informed somehow via email or text. So be sure that in the early stages, the management of your contact list is critical. You may not realize that yet, but talk to any seasoned professional and they will tell you that one of the most valuable things that they have is their contact list. It's priceless. And if you're diligent about managing it and you know exactly, this is the home address, this is the work address, this is this office, this phone, that phone, whatever. Make sure that you've managed that. Also, if they have subordinates, make sure that you make a note of their subordinates' names, the roles they play in their life. If it's a husband, wife, make sure that you have both contact information and that's carefully delineated out so that you can make use of that in the future. Your contact list is extremely powerful. And that goes to my customer stickiness program. The other parts of my customer stickiness program are, you don't want to, let's say that you do an amazing job for a customer or you sell them an amazing product. Don't just give them your business card and assume that they're going to keep it. They could be the happiest person in the world, but you know what? People are disorganized and they make mistakes. They do stupid stuff. I think every one of us has had the situation where we've had a plumber do a great job, or somebody come out and fix an air conditioner for us. And 2 years later, we're thinking, where's that guy's card? I wish I had his card. I totally would prefer to call him and use him and give him my money. But you have failed to keep track of his card. And so don't assume that your customers are going to be responsible enough to keep your card handy. I use stickers and I use magnets, and I also will periodically send my customers just a quick email that says, hey, I still exist. Remember me? I'm the guy that did this. And that's entirely automated. But the thing is that as much as 9 out of 10 people are going to look at that and say it's a junk mail when they get it every 6 months or whatever, what's going to happen is at some point they're going to say, oh yeah, he's in my inbox. I got to get that guy's number. Or they're going to say, yeah, he asked me if I could have put a sticker on the fridge or the air conditioner, or he asked me if I could put a sticker on this. So use stickers, use magnets, and do something to keep the bond between you and the customer very sticky. You don't have to irritate them, but don't assume that your business card is going to stay in their hand. They could be very happy. You could have given them the service for free. You could have completely undercut your competition. That doesn't mean that they're going to be responsible enough to hold on to your business card, and they'll want it. So stay sticky. The next thing is going to be tool and inventory management. Make sure that your inventory is carefully managed. You never want to be without a part if it controls whether you can do the job or not. You never want to be without a tool if having that tool is going to mean the difference. You know, if you got a tool that costs $80, but you got a special order it from China because they don't sell it locally, and all of a sudden you got some guy knocking on your door, calling you up, he wants you to do the job, but because you were too cheap or irresponsible to have that tool in stock, you need to send him on his way to the guy down the street. That's bad news. So make sure that you're anticipating your need for tools. Buy the tools before you need them. Shop them. Research the tools. Use the best tools. And as far as your inventory, I don't know what you use, and it doesn't matter. You may use pipes or screws or various electronics equipment or harnesses or whatever. Make sure that you're equipped to deal with the customer's needs, because what's going to happen is you go out there and they're going to remember that you're the guy that happened to have that fastener that they needed, that nobody else did. They're going to remember the fact that they had so many bad experiences with all these irresponsible people that just did not have what they needed, and you happen to have that thing. The other thing too is when it comes to all these little inventory things, if you have to buy them at the last second, what happens is when you go to write your invoice out to the customer and you're putting that part down there, you may have had to buy it last minute retail, and then you're putting it on your invoice and you're wanting to make a buck or two, but you're selling it for more than the shop down the street does. It leaves a bad taste in the customer's mouth, and the customer, they're not stupid. If you're selling them a part that they can buy right down the street for $10 and you're selling it to them for 15, it just doesn't make them as happy as if you were selling it to them for 10. Lowe's is selling it for 10, but you were responsible, so you bought them in bulk on the internet and got 10 of them out of China for $10 and then marked them up by a factor of 1,000%. So manage your inventory. It's much more profitable, and it's going to show that you're prepared. The customer's going to be happy because you're still getting a great markup, but they're getting the same value that they would otherwise. By the way, when it comes to quoting stuff, if your customer asks what do you charge for parts? What do you charge for this? Don't tell them, hey, I charge the same as the discount warehouse down the street, because that's just stupid. What I do, like I say, I do IT. And when my customers ask me, what do you charge for various parts? I tell them, I say, I charge the same price as Best Buy. The reason I can do that is because Best Buy does a lot of research. They know what stuff is worth in order to make a profit. And I obviously don't buy my stuff from Best Buy because I'm a provider. It would be stupid for me to buy stuff at a huge margin from Best Buy. But to the customers, Best Buy is the source for these materials that they use. And so when I tell them I sell it for the same price as Best Buy, it's very fair. And it allows me to stay above water, and it allows the customer to get great service. So like I say, tool and inventory management, critical. It's going to make you profitable. It's going to make you capable of taking on jobs. It's going to make your customers happy because you'll be equipped. The last thing, and just because it's the last thing on my list doesn't mean that it's not important. The last thing on my list is communication. Make sure that your customers can get a hold of you. You don't have to necessarily answer the phone the second that they call. That's not always realistic. Sometimes you might be busy with another customer, or maybe it's a holiday or whatever. Maybe it's after hours. But make certain that even if you cannot talk to the customer at the moment that they call, make sure that they have a time frame of when you're going to get back to them. If you're in your voicemail, say, I return calls before the end of the business day. I have an iPhone, and it's great because I just click, there's a little button, and I've programmed it so that if somebody's calling me, I have an auto text reply, and it says, I'm with a client, I'll call you back soon. So the thing is that when it comes to communication, your customers don't necessarily need to talk to you that minute. Maybe yours do, but they don't necessarily need to talk to you that minute. But what they do need is they need a timeline. They need to know that you're still in business, that you make a good habit of returning calls. Make sure that your customers have an idea of, hey, this guy is going to call me back pretty soon. So just to review what I've gone over in the video. In the early stages of your business, revenue is the priority. It allows you to build a customer base because you take on more customers if you have smaller margins and you prioritize large amount of revenue. Advertising in the early stages of the business. You may not advertise forever and ever, but in the early stages of the business, make use of advertising. Build that customer base up quickly, and then your referral base will grow accordingly. Quality of product, never negotiate the quality of your product. The customer's only going to remember down the road, the only thing they're going to remember is that you're the one that sold them junk. They're not going to remember if they're the one that requested it. Customer stickiness.